Good morning, friends. This week I'm in a race against the clock as it is supposed to start pouring down rain, apparently. I think we're gonna get about 1.5 inches in less than 24 hours starting on Thursday. When I first bought the camper, it was leaking nearly everywhere. All of the inlets, around the clamshell, through the ceiling, a disaster. And while I have been able to fix some of the leaks, there are still multiple areas in the ceiling especially that need to be fully sealed before the rain comes. As you guys saw last week, I'm still waiting on those windows, so that's obviously a really big component as well. And I'm just crossing my fingers that they get here in time so that way we can install them and stop worrying about water getting back into the area that I just cleared it out from. I'm kicking off this process today by tackling the flume, which was for an old propane fridge that I no longer have or will be using. It didn't even come with that fridge. And then I'm also going to tackle the vent, which has multiple cracks around the edges and looks like it's been leaking for quite some time. I think the fridge flue is going to take the longest, and so I'm going to tackle that first, and then hopefully by the end of the day I'll be able to at least take a look at the hatch, if not install it as well. So let's get going. Alright, so as you guys can see, this whole side piece is cracked off. And then this entire top section also just has a massive cut in it, which allows any water, debris to go inside. So this whole thing needs to come off. It looks like it's been lap sealed over, which they did a terrible job at. So I'm gonna go get the heat gun to try to melt some of this off because I don't want to scratch the fiberglass if I don't have to, and it seems to still be on there pretty good. And then we'll try to get at these screws to seal the hole up. Now that everything's cleaned off from the outside, you would think I'm ready to fiberglass, but before I do that, what I'm going to end up doing is filling this hole. Right now, it's just open to the world, obviously, but even if I were to fiberglass over this, I do want to insulate it. Ooh, I'm pretty dark. I want to try to insulate it just to give myself that extra layer or barrier of protection from the outside world since I can. What it's also going to do is provide a harder backing so that way when I'm laying the fiberglass, I can get that as flat and flush to the ceiling as possible. Well, I should have learned this a long time ago, but it's time for me to stop saying, I'm gonna do this and then go do this, because then half the time I don't have that thing or it doesn't work and I'm stopped. But what I will say is this is now all covered. So you guys can see, nice little patch right here. I cut it super tight so it shouldn't go anywhere, and then foil sealed around the edge. So technically I'm ready to fiberglass, but unfortunately I was going to use the matte and resin from my bus build when I had to cover up some holes in the body there, and I can't find the fiberglass matte. So gratefully my mom's heading to the store later today and offered to grab some of the matte for me. So it looks like it's going to be a project for tomorrow because I need the weather to be sunny and warm enough for it to dry and set up properly. So I think instead I'm going to move on to this hatch, which you're probably like, why are you fixing the hatch? It looks totally fine. The outside is completely cracked, as you'll see in a moment, and definitely needs replacing. So I purchased, I think, the exact same hatch. I really hope it's the exact same hatch, so that way I don't have to cut into the fiberglass, but it's within 1/2 inch, so even if I do need to trim it up a little bit, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. I will say it definitely took a lot longer to scrape off that lap sealant than I was expecting, so I'm planning for some more of the same with this hatch, but thankfully I won't need to patch it afterwards. It'll just be dropping the new hatch in, and that part should go a little bit faster in theory. Okay, so as I was mentioning, you guys can see that is taped, lap sealed over and cracked. That whole corner is cracked there, and then there's a bunch of other like weird lap sealant that leads me to believe that this has been leaking for a long time. So I'm gonna do my best to scrape all of this off again. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it before the sun goes down because it's already getting late in the day, but we're just gonna go for it and see how far we can get. One of the hardest things about remediation with this camper has simply been how old things are. Like this lap sealant, for example, that got lodged into almost all of the screw heads that I was trying to unscrew. And so a simple task like taking a hatch off ended up taking multiple hours. And I'm not complaining, but if this is something you're planning on tackling as well, I would just say to plan ahead, because I definitely didn't. All right, so now that all of the lap sealant is finally removed, as you can tell, it's already dark outside. I am just gonna take this little Brillo like Scotch-Brite pad. Sorry you guys can't see it. I can't figure out this angle any better. And just scrub around the edges to try to clean things up a little bit. The reason I'm doing this isn't because it's gonna be clean and shiny, but it's really just to get any excessive debris off and to try my best to just clean it up so that way when I go and polish the camper in the next couple of days, it matches a little bit better. As with any project out here, it always takes so much longer than you think it's going to, but I really truly did not think that just removing the sealant from the roof was going to take, I don't even know, like 8 hours now. It's about 5 o'clock and I got out here just after 8:30. So this has been a pretty intense day of just scraping, and in some ways it feels like a waste, but I know that this was a necessary step and I'm glad that I'm taking the time to do it, because if I were to just try to put things back on top of the lap sealant, I wouldn't have a good seal with the roof, and that could lead to other issues down the road, like leaking, gapping in the lap sealant that I'm going to apply, etc. While I'm up here, I've been thinking more about my solar and how I want to mount everything on the roof. Right now you guys are actually sitting on a solar panel that I purchased this rig with. I'm not going to be discarding it, but I'll be taking it off and probably trying to resell it. The panel looks like it's in good shape, but it just doesn't quite fit with the other panels that I plan on putting up here. So I'm going to have one 250 watt massive panel go down the center, a max air fan in the back, and then two 100 watts on the side of this hatch, I believe. And the goal is really just to maximize my solar while still allowing me space to be able to get up here, to clean off my panels, to sightsee, all the things that I want to be able to do while trying to maintain as much power or add as much power as I possibly can. I think this panel right now might be 125 watts. It's a little bit bigger than a 100 watt panel, but still pretty small. Okay, so this could definitely be cleaner, but if you guys remember what it looked like before, I'm pretty psyched on this. And while it's definitely too late to put the hatch in tonight permanently, I am going to go inside and grab it just to see if it fits. I really hope it does. There's supposed to be stock hatches, but we'll see if it fits, so that way I can start to plan for tomorrow in case I need to open this hole up a little bit more. All right, so we are going to cross our fingers that this fits in here. Please. It's too big in both directions, so should have seen that one coming. Well, as strange as it feels to not finish a project in a video, that is the end of today's video, because tomorrow I will see you guys again bright and early trying to finish this install and lay the fiberglass mat. And then hopefully we can move on to the fun things like installing solar and the pre-wiring and things that feel more like tangible progress towards making this our home. So with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you all tomorrow.